Fall is approaching.
It was time to make some ciders, and I was running out of ideas on what to make. So Derica consulted the list and she came up with
Cran-Apple Cider.
So we went to Walmart and found Cran-Apple Juice. And at first glance, you'd say, oh, why wouldn't you just use cranberry juice? There's a couple reasons. First, there's a whole big controversy as to whether it'd be actually cider if we don't put apple in it. So we had to make sure that we used apple. I wanted to say that fast because, just got to get it out there. And second, pure cranberry is actually hard to ferment. So we decided to go with Cran-Apple. Now,
I'd like to say that pure cranberry is supposed to be hard to ferment. We actually
you had to
haven't
do it spontaneously.
experienced that on our own, but hey.
Now, we talked about the potential of using like cranberry and apple and doing that. But then we thought, a lot of people are asking what to do with these mixes and these cocktails. So this is a great way to use one of those. And I want to read the ingredients to you. This is filtered water, sugar, apple juice concentrate, cranberry juice concentrate, vegetable juice for color, natural flavors, fumaric acid. So it's got some acid, probably to keep the color and as a preservative. Sodium citrate, which is also another acid, I think, malic acid, and ascorbic acid, and citric acid. So this has a lot of acids added to it, which means it might have that really bright flavor that I like.
Right. If you listened to the list of some of those acids, many of those are included in what we add to add an acid like
just
punch.
fumaric is not.
And that's the acid blend. So the malic and the citric are part of the acid blend.
Yep, tartaric acid is the only one. Yeah, I can't say it. By the way, when you get bottles like this, mix them up. Just shake it up. Notice I just released the pressure and shook it up. The inside of the bottle is actually sanitary, so you don't have to worry about pasteurizing it or anything like that. It's totally fine. And we're gonna use a 2-gallon bucket for ease of other stuff later.
Speaking of sanitary, this bucket and all the tools we're gonna be using today have been sanitized in the red bucket of sanitization!
Which is actually a big red bucket over there with 10 gallons of water and Star Sand solution mixed to the manufacturer's directions. And it just occurred to me that we forgot to do it in the last video.
I know, that's why I made sure to do it this one.
I have a thing that I can add.
Yeah. The thing.
Whoops. It's all good until it glugs. When it glugs, then it splashes, and that's not cool.
And I am always sitting in the splash zone.
I'm sorry. Missed the bucket.
His bucket overfloweth at the moment, too, so.
Ugh. Okay, I didn't follow my own rule. So you open it and then you shake it, because otherwise there's no air. Does it smell good?
It smells good.
You really do like cranberry juice.
I love cranberry juice.
Now, you do not need to worry about getting air in it at this point. In fact, it's a good thing. That's why, as much as I'm playing around doing this, it's a good thing, because I'm getting some oxygen into it, but it splashes, so be careful. Because the yeast in the beginning phase need oxygen in order to build up a colony, and then they start making alcohol. See if I can make it this time. It's literally like right at the top of that thing. Is very full. Okay, so now I want to take a reading. Most juices run anywhere from 1.050 to 1.060. Let's find out what this one is. I don't think we've ever actually used this juice before.
Nope. I don't think we've ever actually purchased this juice before.
That's what I mean, like at all. We've never had it, period. Does smell nice though.
It smells lovely.
1.052. Now, if I was to take my triple scale hydrometer and put my finger at the 1.052 mark and spin that around, it comes to about 6 to 6.5%. Yeah, ABV. Wow, that's impressive. So this will be on the stronger side for some of the ciders we've made.
Right. So those of you who drink fruit juice frequently because you think it's good for you, it's basically a sugar bomb.
Yeah, actually most fruit juices have just as much sugar as sodas do. So, yeah. Eat the whole fruit if you want to get good stuff from the fruit.
There is something we're not doing at this stage that we would typically do, and that's take a pH reading.
Yeah.
Now, with all those acids, I'm expecting this to be on the acidic side.
Yep.
But if you watched our test with plain versus polished wine where we used a really acidic grape juice, the yeast didn't care.
Yeah, didn't make a damn bit of difference. Didn't do anything. So
speaking of yeast, what yeast are we using today?
We are going to be using Saft Cider AB1. Now, there's a reason we're using it. First, we had an open half packet. So, want to use it up before it expires too much, even though it actually expired last year. But, that's okay. We keep it in the fridge, and most of the time it works just fine. We actually used the other half of this just a little while ago.
Yep.
Anyway, they call this a balanced yeast. And what that means is it's really good in dry and it's really good in sweet, but it's also really good in difficult fermentation conditions.
Enter stage left, cranberry juice.
Exactly. So that's some of the differences that I find in yeast is alcohol tolerance, which for a cider, any yeast will reach the alcohol tolerance that a cider should have. And if you're making ciders that surpass the tolerance of yeast, you're no longer making cider. In my opinion, you're making wine. Whole different topic, whole different thing, but just a quick synopsis there. But I'm going to use, looks like a little bit more than a half packet here. And this is a good yeast. We used it to make a cider for our 3-way test, and it did a really great job. It was my number 2 pick, as I recall, in that test.
I don't recall at all.
Yeah, I remember things. I want to say it's over 10% alcohol tolerance, which is totally fine for what we're doing here. It'll do the job. That's what we need.
All right, time for a lid. All right, boss, it's time to get the hoss.
Oh, that's not going to be a thing, is it? This is the Haas. It is the hammer of supreme sealing, or superior sealing, however you liked it to be. And somebody told me about it. They said they worked in the paint department of Lowe's or Home Depot, and they were using this to seal the buckets. Never had a problem. We used to say, if your lid doesn't snap, your seal is crap. I think the Haas says it better. It's a dead blow hammer. I mean, come on, this is a lot more fun than snapping a lid. It's probably sealed by now.
If you do implement the Haas to seal your buckets, please take into consideration that this is a plastic vessel and you don't want to get too violent because you may break the bucket.
We need an airlock. While she affixes the airlock and dries a spot, I'm going to put our super fancy masking tape on our super fancy schmancy label. But on our label, it just says Cran-Apple Cider, 1 gallon Cran-Apple Juice, 1.052 starting gravity, half packet Safe Veil AB1.
And at the top, you need to put the date.
All right, and the date. Today is 9/8/25. Ciders usually don't take as long as wines or meads, but that doesn't mean they don't always. Sometimes a week, sometimes a few days. I've seen people have them finish out in a few days. At 1.052, I'm probably going to give this 2 weeks. We might check it next week just to be on the safe side because, I get impatient and want to see if it's doing things. But yeah, so see you then. It's been exactly 1 week since we started this, and because it's a cider, they can go kind of fast sometimes. And we used the dreaded plastic bucket, which, the airlocks don't really go bloop, bloop, bloop as much as you might like them to because of sealing and stuff like that. But let's take a look inside. Whenever I take the lid off something that I couldn't see inside, I always like to give it a good optical inspection. And on this, I don't see anything untoward. I do see, if you look really carefully in the reflection there, you can see some little bubbles popping. And that just means it might still actually be working, but give it a smell. Smells nice. Smells like a cranberry, really, with a little bit of a fermented smell, a little bit of alcohol. It doesn't smell unpleasant. It actually smells quite nice. If you get like a sulfur smell or a rotten egg smell, usually that means that you didn't aerate enough at the beginning or your yeast are stressed for some reason. The good news is that ages out, so you don't really have to worry about it. We're getting a lot of people asking about that lately, so don't get crazy. It's okay. Yeah, this is still very gassy, so let's just do a quick sample here. And we take this reading to know, is it done so we can move on to the next phase, or do we need to let this sit a little bit longer? You do want to get some of the gases out, though, when you're taking a reading. I want to do a test. I saw someone do a test where they took something that was carbonated and then made it flat, and there was like a 40-point difference in the reading. I don't know. That just sounds a little extraordinary to me. So that's the kind of thing that I would rather test myself because I don't really believe that that is how much difference there is.
But we don't know because we haven't tested.
Right. This is sitting at 1.004. Now at 1.004, What do we do there?
Because we have additions that we intend to do, plus we want to naturally carbonate this, I don't think we want to wait. I think we want to push forward.
Okay. What she means by that is normally we would let this go completely dry and then rack it to another container and then do the additions we're going to do. But in this case, we're not worried if those additions end up fermenting a little bit. Doesn't really matter. This is something that I need to test, but here is my theory. This is my new fruit before, during, and after theory. And it's this. If you add fruit in the very beginning and it's an aggressive fermentation, some of those aromas, which means flavors, can get blown out the airlock. But if you wait till it's settled down to almost nothing, now you have a little bit of safety from the alcohol, protecting it from any, bacteria, fungus, or wild yeast. And you also get the added benefit that it's a less aggressive fermentation, so most of the flavors should stay. That's my theory. I'll see if it proves itself out. Someday we will do another before, during, and after, but that's the idea. But for now, let's grab the fruit that we're gonna be adding to this. All right, so we got our scale. Take the lid off. We're gonna add in.
Can you tear now that I've removed the lid?
I have to tear it again.
Whenever you adjust your volume, make sure that you tear it out if you're trying to get appropriate weight.
Take something off or change it. Here we have some cubed apples. These happen to be Fuji, but you can use your favorite apple. We just happen to have a bunch of Fuji apples. They're all fresh and everything like that. Washed them up, cubed them up, got rid of the cores. Now, some people freak out about the seeds. You would have to consume so many seeds to actually be dangerous for you. So don't really worry about that, but I always err on the side of caution and leave them out if I can. If one snuck in, I'm not gonna go crazy. This is precisely 1 pound, 12.9 ounces of chopped up apples. However, 1 3/4 pounds should probably be just fine. And this is gonna be interesting.
Oh.
Whoa.
Manipulation sites.
Got foamy in there. That was pretty cool. I was gonna try to get it on camera for you, but it happened so fast and now it's gone. Okay, so that's the apple portion of the Cran-Apple, along with the apple juice, Cran-Apple Juice, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna tear this out yet again. We're gonna add, now these are just craisins. Why? Because we couldn't find fresh or frozen cranberries in our grocery store. Don't ask me why, but that's just how it was. So I'm gonna use 1 pound of these.
We've used craisins before and it works well.
Now, something about this, these are dried. So that makes me think a little bit because 1 pound of these is gonna be like 3 pounds of fresh.
Oh, yeah.
Do we want to use 1 pound? I mean, it would be very cranberry. I like craisins though.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what? Let's split the difference. 3/4 of a pound.
3/4, all right.
Yep, so 12 ounces of craisins. You're probably seeing now why we used a 2-gallon bucket to make this. So as you can see all the fizzing that's happening there? That is not really active fermentation. That is literally the CO2 that is in the solution coming out because now it has some place to grab onto, which is called a nucleation site. Kind of like the Diet Coke and Mentos thing that Mythbusters did years ago. But that's what this looks like. Yum. I would like to stir this up a little bit. I think it needs it. And to do the stirring, I'm gonna use the spattle. It's a spoon, it's a paddle, it's both. Get yours in the description below. Whoa, yeah, it's foamy. Now, some people have said that they wanted to capture the bubbles that were in the fermentation. You can try to do that. I find that it's easier to actually just recreate them later. I had read years ago that someone said that the bubbles created during fermentation would taste worse than the ones created afterwards. That doesn't seem to hold truth, so, yeah. So we can put the lid back on, which means I need the Haas, the hammer of superior sealing, which I'm not sure that it works all that well, to be honest. Some buckets work, some don't. Does it matter? No, but this is a lot more fun than just trying to cram a lid on there. Before we go, I'd actually like to use a calculator teacher said I would never have handy that was in my pocket that is also a communications device and I can access information the world around. But they said I would never have a calculator handy. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we're going to be kegging this.
Nope, we're going to natural carbonate this.
So this is going to be dry or as dry as it'll go. All right, so we probably will get a little bit of fermentation off of this.
I want to do a little addition here on the apples. We picked Fuji because 1, it's Brian's favorite apple, and 2, it is more towards the sweet end of the spectrum of apples. So Brian said you could choose whatever apple you want, and that's true. But remember, we're going to have the tartness being added by the cranberries. So I really wouldn't want to add a tart apple to this as well, unless you really like tart things. So having a mid-range apple or something closer to the sweet end of the spectrum probably is going to be best in this recipe.
Anyway, so we start at 1.052, that's our original gravity, minus 1.004, which is our gravity of today. And that gives me 48 points used up, times 131.25, which is the coefficient of choice. 6.3% ABV.
Not too shabby. Now, is there going to be some dilution because of the fruit that we added? Yes. Can we calculate it? No.
Probably not. Plus, there's also some sugars in the apples and the cranberries themselves that may or may not ferment fully. So I'm not going to worry about it. But also, you want to remember, since we're going to naturally carbonate, this might add about another 0.5%. Yeah. So this is going to be somewhere between like 5.5% and 7%. And that's about as accurate as you can really hope to be on a homebrew level. And it's okay, because if someone actually says, well, I'm not drinking anything that's less than 7%, don't give them any. It's just that simple.
So we have one more variable that we need to think about at this moment. Typically, when we add a fruit ingredient to a brew, we'd like to give it roughly 3 weeks time to get all the fruity essence out. But because we want to naturally carbonate that, do we want to take that into consideration, or are we not going to worry about it because we are going to be adding insurance yeast later?
We're not going to worry about it. We do what's called insurance yeast. You'll see that later.
All right, so I guess we will see them again in roughly 3 weeks.
Yep. All right, so 2 weeks ago, we added some fruit. Let's see what it looks like. Ugh. All right, so as you can see, there's no mold, there's no weirdness. Everything looks as it should. Now that's a crucial step. If you don't check for that and there's mold in there, it could be harmful to you. So that's why we always want to check that. But today what we're doing is tasting it to see, did we extract enough flavor from that fruit?
The aroma on this is actually surprisingly pleasant.
Yeah, it is actually. Whoa, look at this color. Wow, that's a beautiful color. And that's, Cran-Apple Juice. It'll do that. Just set the lid on there for me. Ooh, it smells.
Getting excited.
It smells nice. Now, what we're hoping for is enough cranberry flavor. We did add apples and craisins to it, so.
Okay, I'm going in.
All right.
Yeah, I think for a dry cider, that combination is perfect.
Wow, that has some tart, some tang.
You got the punchy, tart, apple cranberry combo going on.
Yep. It's got some grip. Like grabs your tongue, slaps it back and forth inside your mouth.
If you enjoy that sort of thing, not what Brian described, but what I described, this would be perfect. If you prefer things to be sweet.
Oh, no, I'm okay with this.
Okay.
I don't know that I drink a lot of it, but it definitely, it's got the tartness going, which is, cranberry and apple together can do that. And I think that's kind of cool.
And that's the direction I was going for when I created this in my brain.
Yep.
Maybe I didn't verbalize that well enough.
She didn't,
to you.
But it's okay. I kind of figured if we're going dry on a cranberry, it's gonna smack you around a little bit.
All right, so it's got apple, it's got cranberry, it's a little punchy. I think it is time to move forward.
Yeah, we got to rack this.
So
we're gonna rack it to a pitcher so that we can do the next steps. I'm gonna need the rumble jar because there's some serious amounts of stuff. All right, so we're gonna rack this to our pitcher. It is the pitcher of awesomeness. Yep. It has metric and American numbers. You've probably heard this before, but I don't care because this is just that good. If you would like to get one, we will have links in the description below. Okay, so also another thing that we're going to use is the rumble jar. I highly recommend having one of these. It's made to do cold brew coffee, but we're going to use it in a slightly different way today. It's going to go right into the bucket around all the fruit and to the bottom. And what it does is it keeps the fruit from clogging up the auto siphon when we're siphoning. So it's actually pretty fantastic for this. So I just have to put my auto siphon in like usual, get it started. Look at that color. That is just incredible. And siphon away. All right, so we have our cider in the pitcher. Now we need to do a couple things to let it actually carbonate. Carbonation is actually a mini fermentation. A lot of people don't seem to understand that. You can use carbonation drops, which are essentially sugar pills. That's really all they are. There's nothing else added to them. Or you can just use plain old white sugar like we do. There's other kinds of sugars that you can add, whatever you want, but it has to be something that will ferment. Someone asked recently, can I use erythritol to carbonate? And I said, no, because it's not going to actually carbonate. They couldn't understand. So that's why I'm just trying to be a little bit more explicit about that. And how much are we using?
42
grams, that is, or 1.5 ounces. I like that number because it's fun, it's easy to remember, and it's the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Now, we do realize that our total volume is slightly under 1 US gallon. We don't care.
It's
We're
not that
still
much
going to
under.
use 42 because
Bubbles?
something tismal,
Infinitesimal?
that amount of additional carbonation based on volume
Yeah,
versus
it's not
sugar is not a problem.
Now, that's for a gallon. If you're doing 2 gallons, you want 84 grams, etc., etc., etc. Otherwise, you're going to get less carbonation. That's just the way it works.
If you are super hoity and like to have a very specific amount of carbonation, there are carbonation calculators out there that you can use to your heart's content to get the exact amount of
Yep.
fermentable sugar to carbonation ratio.
I just like a good amount of carbonation, so that's as far as I go. Those tables and calculators have very specific, like how many atmospheres of pressure and things like that. I honestly don't even get into that
We
stuff.
just want bubbles.
Yeah, I want it fizzy. That's it. As long as it's fizzy, I'm good. Okay, make sure you mix this in well without overdoing it. You don't want to oxidize the brew at this point, but you want to make sure all that sugar gets in there.
You want a uniform amount of sugar diluted through your solution, so that way when you go to bottling, you have a uniform amount of sugar in each bottle, so you get a uniform amount of carbonation in each bottle.
Right. A lot of people like to do like the teaspoon of sugar in each bottle. You can totally do that if you want to. I don't prefer that method because I don't think it's as consistent as this. Now, looking at the side of our pitcher of awesomeness, I can see how much we have, and I just calculated out how many bottles we need, which was 9.3, which means either I'm going to squeeze a little bit more into each bottle, or Derek is going to get a partial drink out of this one. All right, we are mixed. So we're going to siphon this off into bottles for the
have
next 10 minutes.
Video on our bottling procedure. I'll make sure to link it in the description below in case you are unfamiliar.
It's just siphoning with a bottling wand on the end. That's very simple. See you in a couple minutes. All right, so after filling our bottles, we have 9 bottles, and Derica has a little bit left over there. There's like 4 or 5 ounces left. These are Guinness bottles, which say 11.4 ounces, but I found them to be more like 12. You can, at this point, just put the caps on, and there's a 50-50 shot that they will carbonate in a couple of weeks, okay? I like to be a little bit more sure than that, because what might have happened is the yeast flocculate out, and then we racked it. So how much of that colony is left? We don't really know, so I like to use a little bit of what I call insurance yeast. Now, insurance yeast is any old yeast you happen to have laying around.
As long as it's viable.
Yeah, this is 71B, half a packet that we just opened probably last week or the week before, so I know it's still good. We keep all our yeast in the fridge, by the way. And when I say insurance yeast, I mean, I just put a few grains in there. You see this. This is like, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how much of a teaspoon it is. It's literally just like a sprinkle. Yeah, a sprinkle. That's a new size. From here forward, that's canon. It's just very little. Now, I call it insurance yeast because you never know if you need it until you need it, and you wish you had it. We have had great luck using insurance yeast and less than great luck when we don't. Now, also, too, we were using our swing top bottles that, you know, the seals are probably getting a little aged, so that could have been the problem.
So now we're using our crown cap bottles and our most favorite precious item, and that's our bench capper.
Yep.
It's huge, so we're not going to show you right now, but basically it's just a way to cap.
Put the bottle caps on. We've done it in other videos. We could probably link one where we show it. Sure. But that's what we're going to do. And then these are going to go into what?
The bomb shelter, which is basically just a heavy-duty plastic tub that is tall enough that these can sit upright inside it. The reason why we do that is just as a precautionary measure in case, knock on wood, we haven't had it happen, but you never know, if the pressure builds up in these or if there is a fault in the glass itself, they could rupture and explode. And keeping them in the bomb shelter, that's going to contain all that glass and that mess, so we won't have an issue.
By the way, that's why we use the 42 grams of sugar. If you put in a lot more than that, you could be going past what the bottles can hold for carbonation and pressure, and they could explode. So be careful with that. Less than that, you're gonna get less carbonation. More could be dangerous. So that's why we like to go with the 42 grams per gallon. It seems a nice all-around number for almost all carbonated beverages, especially cider. Ciders, you really want it to have that really crisp, fizzy carbonation.
We are then going to let these sit for at least 2 weeks,
Usually
maybe
3 or 4.
and then we'll be back for our final tasting.
Okay, the day has come. It's been 3 weeks since we bottled this. It's been sitting in the bomb shelter. Today it's time to open it up.
Now, I did put this bottle in our mini fridge this morning so that it would be chilled.
I recommend chilling anything that is naturally carbonated. Otherwise, there is a chance of it overflowing. Do you have a towel ready just in case?
Do you know where your towel is?
Towel at the ready. Ready for the hiss and pop. Oh, we got a hiss and pop.
Ooh.
And there's fizz.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
That's pretty. All right, so it carbonated really well.
Yeah.
There's little tiny bubbles coming up. It doesn't hold a head like a beer does. There's just no proteins in it to do that.
Yeah, but like I'm still bubbling and this was the first glass we poured.
Yeah, and it took a few minutes.
The color is fantastic. It's a nice, bright, vibrant red.
It's cranberry.
Yeah.
It's cranberry red. I mean, what more can you ask for? It's cold, so it's really hard to get much off the smell. Definitely a nice tartness to it, though.
Yeah.
Like I can smell the cranberry thing going on.
Yeah.
Ooh, little sweetness there, too, from the apple. Kind of get it.
Yep. And it smells cidery, too. Like it has that fermented.
Sure. All right. Before the bubbles are gone, I want to taste it.
All right. It is crisp.
Oh, yeah.
It has a nice tartness to it that you would expect in this kind of combination.
Wow.
I don't have anything negative to say about it.
No, this is really nice. Now, I'm curious how we got this to 1.004 and then carbonated it, but we did. I don't remember. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But the carbonation on this is really working to lighten it up. It doesn't feel so dry and young. Wow, that's actually really good. I'm hoping we have more of these that we can put away, at least one for a year for the tasting room.
Done and done.
Yeah, we're starting to do that. Because, here's the thing. We've always said, oh, they might not last a year. Well, they don't last a year because we drink them.
Yeah.
So if it's bottle capped and sealed and all that, there's no reason why it couldn't last a year. So
Sure.
we're going to keep them for a year and do that.
This seems like another great after yard work.
Yep, this is
yourself.
lawnmower cider. Absolutely lawnmower cider. It's very light and refreshing. That there is a bitter note all the way at the back that I'm not too fond of. And I know it's from the combination of the cranberry and apple, but that flavor comes through a little bit more strongly for me than I really would prefer. Other than that, it's got a lot going for it. It's got a lot of nice fruity flavors.
Sure. If you like dry cider, I think you would really appreciate it.
Yes, if you like dry cider, this is amazing. So on your screen, you should be seeing our scoring system, which goes 1 through 11, because ours does go to 11. And what's not on there is the super secret 0 for things that just absolutely suck. Spoiler, I don't think this is either a 0 or an 11. I could be wrong.
A very minimal goop.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
The old insurance yeast did the job yet again. Actually, we don't know if it did or not. It's like Schrodinger's yeast because you don't know if you need it until you need it.
Yes.
And if you didn't have it, it might not work.
But ever since we've been doing that, our natural carbonations have
And
not.
bottle caps.
Yep, have not failed us. So yay, team.
Anyway, do you have a number?
Let me see.
All right. I do too. You ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 6. I just couldn't go into the great category. I think this is fine. I think it's okay. It's just not, it's not blowing my whistle, you might say.
Sure, I prefer things to be sweeter.
It's hard to do sweet and naturally carbonated, though. That's the problem.
Right,
We always
right.
run into that.
So I took that into consideration as to why I knocked it down, but based solely on what our intent was, this was an absolute success.
Right. That's why I couldn't go below 6, because it is what it says on the box. Like, without a doubt, this is a Cran-Apple cider, and it actually flawlessly worked beautifully well. It's just that one odd flavor in there that isn't working for me. Other than that, I would have been much higher. I could have gone 7.5, even 8 on this if it wasn't for that weird flavor. So anyway, make this. It's really simple, really easy. And I think we started this September 8th. Today is October 27th. So that's 7 weeks. And that's with 3 weeks for carbonation.
Yeah.
So really doesn't take much time at all. We're going to leave some of these for like a year, and we'll see you then. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.